What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down 3 things that I feel every single wide receiver, no matter what level you play at, need to learn and you need to do when it comes to your route running and your press releases. So I hope this video helps you guys out. I hope it teaches you a few new things that we haven't covered yet on this channel. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you want a daily workout schedule of what you should be doing in the gym and on the field to improve your skills, check out that very first link in the description below for our ultimate 8-week wide receiver workout schedule. What you'll get access to, it's a daily schedule, like I said, with the exact sets and reps with over 250 on-field drills and 250 gym exercises you can do. So check out that very first link below if interested, fellas. Let's get started. So first thing we're going to be doing today, I'm going to be showing you 3 different route combo situations. And I'm going to be showing you a bad example of each route. And then I'm going to show you a good example of each route or each technique and what the wide receiver can improve on so you guys can avoid this. So first clip here is from Alshon Jeffrey, and he's going to be doing this kind of wide step release. Now, obviously, he doesn't get much separation. Obviously, he's not open on this play, and DB's able to make a play on the route. So when he comes off the ball here, main thing is that when you're going up against a talented DB, a DB who's disciplined, a DB who's patient, he is going to be watching what? His eyes are going to be on your hips. He's not going to be looking at your head and shoulders. He's not going to be looking at your feet. He is supposed to be watching your hips because their thinking is your hips do not lie. So one of the common mistakes that wide receivers will make anytime that they come off the ball is they won't sell enough with their hips and they won't step far enough with their feet. So when he comes off the ball here, he does this wide step release. So a wide step release is where you step with your back foot and you're trying to step wide outside the DB's frame, trying to move him to take the inside release. So you could use this when a DB's head up. You could use it when he's shaded to the outside like so. So you threaten his leverage, right? Like if he's outside shade, his whole goal is to protect the outside. So you go with the wide step release to try to threaten him outside. But that's good, and I should know to do that, but I also have to have the technique behind it. So when he makes this step, you see where he's lined up. He's not even stepping like at all vertical, right? That's not going to get this DB to move at all. That DB is just going to sit because he is not threatened by that. The whole purpose of me even attacking his leverage, quote unquote, because he's outside shade, is to threaten his leverage. Make him think that we were trying to just do a speed release and run around him. So what he could have done that would have made this a little bit better is actually step into his frame, actually step into his cushion. Because if you don't step into his cushion, why would he move? He doesn't feel threatened. He knows it's a release. DBs are smart, and they're playing one of the hardest positions on the field. So they're looking for any type of advantage. So what he does here is when he comes out of this stance, he doesn't really do anything to give him some explosion. You know, he doesn't take that kick step behind. He doesn't take a prep step with the front foot. He just kind of steps there. And when you step there and you're not threatening vertically, that guy will not bite, fellas. Trust me on that. A disciplined guy will not bite. A DB who's bad, I could care less. That should be easy work for us anyways. But to get a guy to move, you actually have to threaten his cushion. That's one of the key mistakes that wide receivers tend to make all the time when they're going up against press. So I'm going to play this full speed, and then I'm going to show another example and of how you guys want to actually set up your cuts with your releases from a clip from Garrett Wilson. So this is Garrett Wilson in his first game with the New York Jets, and this is going to be a 5-yard out route versus outside shade press. So when I have outside shade, like we talked about, right, I'm always going to give you guys the scenario so you know when to use this, but how the technique actually applies. So just because he's outside shade, that doesn't mean that it's still not man coverage, right? He's still watching the hips. His responsibility is the exact same as the last example, right? So he's responsible for the outside. Do not let the receiver run the 5-yard out, which he ends up running. Do not let the receiver run the 10-yard out, the corner, whatever it might be. But protect the outside, funnel him inside because that's where his safety help is. So if I have to run a 5-yard out, the mistake a lot of receivers will make is they'll come off and they'll try to attack this DB's leverage. Guess what he's going to do when you attack his leverage? Keep his leverage because that's what he's taught to protect. If you want to try to square him up outside, he's going to stay outside. And you're going to run that 5-yard out with not much space to the sideline, and that DB will be right on your hip. So you have to almost split the defender in half. You want to attack his inside shoulder. You want to threaten him to the inside because, again, it is still man coverage, and we're still trying to get him to jump. Now, how I do that is by having good technique like we were talking about in the last example. So when he comes up to him, he decides to go with this crossover move. So he does an inside or an outside jab and then an inside fake, selling like he is going to be running a slant. But we actually have to sell the slant. So you actually have to step outside of his frame, right? So when Wilson does this show, he goes one inside jab, and look where that step is. It's vertical. It's threatening him. It's actually stepping outside of his frame. Second step, as stepping outside of the frame, and he's actually selling with his hips and his shoulders to the inside. That is what will get a DB to bite. When you guys are doing all this lateral movement and you guys are just doing a bunch of head and shoulder leans, that's not the thing that you want to do. That's not going to get you separation. I see literally receiver trainers teaching guys. They'll be teaching guys about press coverage, and they will have them do all these pointless movements behind the line of scrimmage laterally, and they will teach, oh, you just want to dip your head and your shoulders out of there. That's not going to do anything against a disciplined guy. Some guys are just freak athletes and they're fast and they can just run around people, but when you don't have that like 4.3 speed, a lot of guys don't. Some guys, even if you don't have 4.4 speed, some guys, you're going up against a DB who's quicker than you, who'll be able to lock that up every single time, because you can't rely on your speed when you get to a certain point. So we have to start threatening the DB's leverage. You got to step outside of his frame. You got to sell with the upper half. That will get him to bite every single time. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. That is a textbook example of how you guys want to set up a DB with your feet and how we can get him to jump. Now, next example here. This is going to be a goal line fade route, and we're going to be talking about how wide receivers cannot cheat their cuts, because again, that is where a disciplined DB is going to be all over your routes. So we got this DB. He's here. Where are his eyes supposed to be? We already talked about this. Hips. So if you guys start to cheat the break, if you guys start to get out of the route with your hips and your shoulders a little bit too fast, and that's something that quicker wide receivers will do, this DB will be all over this thing. So I'm going to play at full speed and then we'll break it down. So he attacks this guy's leverage, but his hips and shoulders give away the route. This is exactly what he's supposed to do in terms of the route. He's doing the right thing, but your technique also matters. A lot of the times on this page, I talk about if I can't get you guys to understand when to use different moves, I'm not doing my job, right? We could work all the different drills. I could teach you all the different cuts, the releases, the moves at the top of the route. But if you don't know when to actually apply those, when should I use this move against this coverage? When should I use this move against that coverage? I'm not doing my job. But I'm also not doing my job if I'm not telling you guys the mechanics that are actually going to get you open behind the cuts. That's why you have to have both. To be a good receiver, you got to have the mechanics and you got to know when to use it. So key to the correct release, inside shade on the goal line. We want to square him up. We want to threaten his leverage to the inside, because again, when he's inside shade, very similar to the last example, he's trying to protect the inside. He does not have any help inside, so he's trying to force you to the sideline. So we want to threaten him where he doesn't want us to go. I want to attack him. I want to threaten him to the inside, make him think I'm running a slant, because that's what he's trying to prevent. But when he's watching my upper half needs to sell the slant. So he attacks this DB. He goes to make this move, but look at his upper half as that foot is striking the ground. His hips and shoulders are giving this thing away. When you guys make that cut, you got to fully commit. You can't cut and then be getting out of this thing too quick. You have to fully commit to the cut and let the cut drive you out of there. So what I think of it is like you want to bring your hip with your foot. You throw an inside jab, that hip, that shoulder, everything goes with the jab, and that jab of the foot is what pushes you out. You're not trying to turn with your upper half. You're not trying to cut and then turn. You're trying to cut and then push off of that foot, because that will get you explosion, but also help you sell the release. Now, again, some of you might be thinking, oh, coach, that's too technical. That's too complicated. No way this receiver's thinking about that right now. And he's not. I'm willing to bet all the money I have that he is not thinking about that at all right now. He's not thinking about foot placement. He's not thinking about driving off the foot. But I can tell you this is something that he needs to think more about when he's working it against air, when he's working drill work, when he's doing work in the off season. That is what you guys should be focusing on, those little details, because those little things are not little. Those little things are what get you open when you have a disciplined guy who's watching your hips and you're not selling the route and not committing to your release. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Then we're going to show a positive example and what you guys want to do against, or how you guys can use this effectively. So now we're looking at this clip here. This is Sky Moore, and he's got an outside shade DB and he's running a slant. So let's talk about this. He's running a slant route outside leverage. So where is this DB trying to go? Or what's he trying to protect, I should say? Trying to protect the outside. He wants to funnel everything inside, but if I have to run a slant route, I can't just take off and run the slant because this DB will force me all the way to his help. As you'll see, this help is actually dropping back to the middle of the field. So we have to attack his leverage, threaten his leverage to widen him so it creates a bigger window for the slant and for my quarterback. So let's play this full speed, but watch how he sells this movement. His upper half commits to the release. Watch when that foot strikes the ground. His upper half goes with it. He's here, hips and shoulders. He's absorbing force. And now he's not trying to turn out of the break. He's trying to drive off of it. You see how he's pushing off of that right foot. That's how we get out of cuts. You push off of the cut leg. You don't turn the upper body and give the route away to this DB. You throw the cut, you throw your hip with the cut to sell, and then the cut pushes you out of there, fellas. Do not make that mistake. Make sure we are emphasizing that while you guys are training and while you guys are working in air scenarios. Let's watch this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Sky Moore threatening this DB's leverage and actually selling that cut and driving off that leg to get out. All right, so now last two examples, we're going to be talking about a slant route versus inside leverage. So we're going to be showing an example of this wide receiver not attacking enough, and then we're going to show Tyreek Hill running this route and how he does a great job of attacking the outside shoulder. So anytime, like we said, a DB is reading what? Body language. But he is also reading your stride and your speed. There are three indicators on every single route: your body language, your stride, and your speed. If you're not running hard, DB ain't going to believe fade, because that's what you're trying to do on this, right? You're trying to take 3 hard steps, DB's outside shoulder, flip his hips, and then slip back underneath. And he's going to be reading your stride. So if you take choppy strides, he's going to sit. And if you start to round with your pad level, like we were just talking about, he's going to sit. Those are the 3 indicators we want to try to avoid. So let's play this full speed. So this wide receiver takes choppy steps, right? That's not going to get the DB to commit. That's not going to get the DB to open up, right? When you go here and he's inside shade and you have to run this slant, he goes 1, 2, 3. And now I like where his foot placement is. I like that his hips and shoulders are there. But when he's inside shade and you have to run an inside breaking route, that's a problem. Now, if you're trying to go outside and give a jab and maybe take an inside release on and try to run like a post or a dig, that release might be okay. But if you're trying to run a slant and you're trying to get this guy to open up so you can win right now, you got to go hard at his outside shoulder. We cannot be taking choppy steps. We have to threaten him vertically to get him to move. That's it, fellas. That's the only way he moves, is if you commit to it. If you are tight, you are hip to hip with him, and you are committing to the fade, that is what will get him to bite. There comes a time on every single rep where a DB has to commit to the fade, but we have to think, I'm going to make him commit. Everybody's worst nightmare is, okay, I'm going to attack him outside, but what if he doesn't open up? My mindset needs to be, I'm going to make this guy open up so I could get space. So now I'm going to play this full speed again, and then we're going to look at that example of Tyreek Hill, and the difference between the 2 releases is what I want you to pay attention to. So when he comes off the ball, see how much he commits to that outside. That is as textbook as it gets on that diamond release. He comes off here. Now again, why did he go with this chatter move? Like I was talking about, you want to try to get hip to hip with this DB. If you got like a gap between the 2 of you and you just take off and try to do this diamond release, but there's a gap, he's going to be able to open up and recover. The DB will be. So you have to make sure that we are pushing vertical, and we are pushing vertical hard, but we are hip to hip with the DB. So watch what he does. He gets off of here, and when he bursts to the outside, he's in full stride. He's running in full speed. His hips and shoulders are committed. Now, the great thing about Tyreek Hill, which makes life easier, is that he's always a vertical threat. If you're a faster receiver, you're always a threat with the 9. So you have to be a great salesman if you want to get separation underneath. A lot of guys only got one-way speed. They could just run fast. That's it. They could just run the straight line. They'll just beat everybody on a fade. But when you get a more talented DB who could stop that, how you get separation underneath is by making your routes look the same. Let's make this diamond release look like the fade. And that's how we do it, by running in full speed, running in full stride, and committing that upper half. Do not make that mistake if you're a wide receiver on any route. You're running a post, you're running an out. We cannot chop the strides, we cannot slow down, and we have to be committed with the upper half to get that DB to open up. When you can get him to open up, we should win every single time. Let's play this thing again, full speed. There's a great example of that diamond release here from Tyreek Hill to get that DB to flip so we could win on the slant. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comments section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like a 8-week wide receiver workout schedule with daily sets, reps, workout splits for on-field drills and gym workouts, check out that very first link in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.